All right, we have the newest announcement for Xbox Game Pass. There's some people here still hoping that we will see a new Gears collection because of some stuff that Phil Spencer has been playing. I think we potentially will see one. It's still in the rumors. I think it would be a smart move, but we will take a look at that. Tariffs potentially being put on by the United States. How is that going to affect gaming? How is that going to affect physical games if you're somebody who still purchases physical games? Well, we'll see. I mean, if it does happen, that will be something I think will affect prices in some way or another, but there's some analysis on that. PlayStation, they've canceled another game, and it is not looking good right now at PlayStation Studios. Who knows what they are going to be working on next, but this was a game that I did not foresee being canceled. I thought this was going to try and be PlayStation's cash cow because they really believe in this franchise. So we'll talk about that, plus some other things going on within gaming. But before we continue, if you are new here, if you've enjoyed the videos, I see about 50% of you have been watching on a daily basis but are not subscribed to the channel. Please consider hitting the subscribe button. I've asked the last couple of videos, and I probably will keep asking because it is working. Seems like reminding people to hit the subscribe does work. Hit the like as well, share the video, all of that stuff. And let's jump right into the news here, and we will start off talking about the latest announcement for Xbox Game Pass. It is a rather large announcement. Of course, now with these Game Pass announcements, you do have to kind of divide them between the stuff that's just going over to Game Pass Standard and then the stuff that is launching into Game Pass Ultimate, generally new games, day one games, things like that. A couple of games here that's actually pretty exciting that are launching day one on to Xbox Game Pass. So this announcement here is much better than the announcement that was the first one in January. And of course, we're going to have a big year with Game Pass with all of the first party games coming to the service day one. But we have this one here, Lonely Mountains Snow Riders, a day one game, which is available right now. Just looks kind of like a laid back, fun racing style of game. You're doing tricks and you're skiing, and it's just something that I will end up checking out. We have here the Game Pass standard stuff. I'll just quickly list off the Game Pass standard stuff. We don't need to go through them, but you have Flock, you have Kunitsugami, you have Magical Delicacy, you have Chia, and then you have Golden Idol. You also have Gigantic, Far Cry, New Dawn, and Shady Part of Me. Those are all ones that are going to standard or Ultimate and Standard at the same time. So depending on where you're subscribed, you're going to be able to get those. Now, the ones specifically only going over to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate that have not mentioned, you have this one here, Eternal Strands, which is a day one video game. It is a third-person action game with magic and combat and everything. There's actually a demo, I believe, available right now on Steam, where if you are playing on Steam, you're going to be able to take your progress over to the actual game itself. But it looks pretty interesting. This is one I will more than likely be checking out and playing. Cloud Console and PC on January 28th. And it comes from Yellow Brick Games. It's an independent studio, but it was founded by industry veterans from franchises like Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Watch Dogs, and Assassin's Creed. So a very strong pedigree of developers that are creating this game. And you can kind of see some of that in the gameplay of Eternal Strands. Very, very cool. And again, a day one game launching into Game Pass. So one of those third-party games that we're going to see more of those styles of launches on top of first-party stuff, which means Game Pass is going to be just absolutely insane. And then we go here, we have Orcs Must Die Death Trap. This is another day one launch on January 28th. It's a third-person shooter style game. If you've never played them, they're fun. They're just kind of mindless and a good time as you go through and just kill all of the orcs. We also have another big day one game, Sniper Elite Resistance, coming on January 30th for Cloud Console and PC if you're a Sniper Elite fan. A new one is launching into the franchise and day one on Xbox Game Pass. So excited about that one. Probably will be checking that one. Citizen Sleeper 2 Star Wars Vector coming January 31st. Ultimate and PC Game Pass day one as well. And this is a game that the first one has a lot of fans for it. It is a very cool RPG sci-fi style of game, lots of decisions and text and everything, text trees as you go through. So very, very cool. The new one is launching here day one on Game Pass. I think a lot of people will be excited about that. You got Far Cry New Dawn. Again, that was also one coming on to standard as well. And that's it. Those are the big ones. The ones that are launching into Ultimate only, they're all day one basically. And that's huge. I mean, that's a huge value for the service itself. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 day one games launching into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate here for those subscribers, leading up, of course, to the Developer Direct tomorrow, where maybe we'll get some more announcements, but we will be seeing more games that are launching day one because they are first party Xbox games. So I think this is a great lineup of games here, and I hope to see more of these third party deals where they are launching into the service the day that they do release. Now, when it comes to another franchise that people want to see more of, we've seen a lot of rumors about this franchise, and that is Gears of War. We know Gears of War E-Day is being worked on. In fact, there are rumors going around that may be launching this year, which would be absolutely insane. But then we've also heard the rumors that the Gears collection, the Marcus Phoenix collection, is still in the works. And I think it's a no-brainer. I don't know why they wouldn't do this. Would be just doing exactly what they did with the Halo Master Chief collection, which is taking all of the Gears game, putting it into one package, having one user interface. Don't put it into a package where you have to load each game, because I mean everything's already available out there on backwards compatibility. You can play them all on Xbox, no problem. But have them all in a singular package, have multiplayer all in one package, and just put that out there. And I think people will eat that up. It'll be in a phenomenal release and a lot of fun for people who are fans of the Gears series. And Phil Spencer has been playing Gears a lot, so I ask people questioning whether he is preparing for the announcement and for the release of the Marcus Phoenix collection. Basically, it says here, Phil has been spotted revisiting Gears of War 2 and Gears of War 3 recently, and two titles that have been long rumored to make up some sort of Marcus Phoenix collection, and he has only been playing the Xbox 360 versions. But the timing of this fresh Gears activity from Xbox Box is certainly intriguing. You go here to his activity feed, he's been going through again and playing through these Gears games. And maybe he's playing them out to see, just kind of get ready for this announcement, get ready for the Marcus Phoenix collection so he can be more up to date or acquainted with it if he hasn't played it in a very, very long time. Talk about all that type of stuff. I mean, that's my hope. This is all just insane speculation right now, but it is definitely my hope that they do this, because the Master Chief Collection, in my opinion, is the best compilation of a franchise into one package with everything that you get in there and everything that you can do. And obviously the launch of the Master Chief Collection was rocky, but they got it to a place where it's just absolutely phenomenal. So I will love to see them do the same thing here with the Gears series, even if it's just the first 3 games. That's fine. You get lots of content out of there. Maybe they upgrade it a little bit, give it a little bit of a shine to it, and then you have all of the multiplayer stuff that would keep people engaged for a very, very long time. Yesterday, we talked about a new Xbox controller, the Cypher Red, and I thought maybe they would announce it at the Developer Direct or something, but they've already announced it. It was leaked a couple of days ago, and here it is. It's a nice looking controller. I like this Cypher series and what they are doing, just kind of with the translucent casing where you can see the internals. They've already done, I believe, a white one and then another color as well, a blue one or something along those lines. But now we have this one here, which is the Cypher Pulse Special Edition. You can see it's red, has different tints of red across it. It looks great, in my opinion. I think these Cypher series are awesome, and you can pick it up, pre-order from, I believe, just the Xbox store right now. They also say your local retailer, they'll be coming there as well. If it's 75 USD, so it's pretty expensive, but I think that's just their general pricing for the controller. So a nice new controller. It was leaked, just confirming here that it is actually real and it is coming out. All right, let's talk PlayStation some more here, because they've canceled a bunch of games. I think they've canceled like 10 games or so this generation, and most of them have been live service games. And I think one of the major reasons is they are looking at their strategy and they're readjusting. Their strategy a couple of years ago under Jim Ryan was live service games. We're going to build out our multiplayer. I think they announced they were trying to put like 10 to 12 out or something like that. And most of those have been canceled. And you have to ask yourself, what are these studios working on next? Because that's a lot of time wasting. You see a lot of comments of people saying, oh, this is good. They canceled a game that was going to fail anyways, or that they thought was going to fail. And sure, that's all okay, but they have wasted a ton of money and a ton of resources. And now what are they going to be doing next? They're probably not going to be doing anything relatively new. I think it's going to be very, very risk adverse going forward, because they have to recoup all of this time and money. I guess you can't recoup the time, but they have to recoup all the money that they've put into these games. And they were still working on a games as a service game, which was Horizon. That seems like PlayStation's baby, especially with Herman Hulst at the helm of PlayStation Studios. And They've made remakes, remasters, and everything. But now it looks like even that game, which I think is a surprise for a lot of people, is reportedly being canceled. Now, here's the report that says NCSoft's Horizon MMORPG have seemingly been canceled. I don't believe it's been 100% confirmed here, but it's looking more and more like that is the case. It says, according to the South Korean site MTN News, publisher NCSoft has canceled projects being worked on at 3 studios, codenamed H, J, and Pantera. So there's just the codenames. And it says, although the story doesn't give any further information on projects, it's been reported for some time that Project H was codenamed for MMORPG based on Sony's Horizon franchise. And that means it is looking like this thing is canceled. And according to the report, it seems Project H has ceased development, with developers previously tied to the project leaving NCSoft. It's reported that developers who didn't leave following the cancellation have moved to different projects across the company. And they go back here and they talk about the partnership that was signed with Sony in 2023, following reports that Sony and NCSoft have struck a deal to create an MMORPG. This is what they had said at the time. Partnering with NCSoft advances our strategy to expand beyond console and broaden PlayStation's reach to a wider audience. And they have to do that. This is the head scratching thing, I think, for a lot of people, is that they still need to do this in some way. That strategy is PC. And will that mean now it's just putting all of their single player games on to PC and not thinking about any more online multiplayer MMORPG stuff? But at the same time, those single player games are extremely expensive. And they have to find ways to make continuous money to support those single player games as the costs continue to rise. It's not just a matter of these single player games not selling enough. It's that they're so expensive to make, the profit margins aren't good enough. And we've seen reports from their financial reports that they need to increase their profit margins, their operating income. They have to, it's not about just making money off these games, it's about making a certain amount of money to appease investors and appease all of the business executives and all of that stuff. Single player games aren't cutting it because it costs too much to make and they're not selling enough to have the numbers that they do want. One way to offset that is to have continuous revenue coming in from multiplayer games as a service games, where Xbox has a huge advantage over PlayStation going forward into the future. They don't have to really worry about that. They have so many huge games that are constantly making money with Call of Duty, with the Minecrafts, you have Sea of Thieves, you have all of these online multiplayer games as a service games that do extremely, extremely well. And then they could take that money, invest in Game Pass, invest in other single player experiences. PlayStation is at a point right now, they have to figure out what they are going to do to be able to continue to expand. PC Day One is a thing that I think absolutely will happen with their first party games, but what else are they going to end up doing? Are they done with live service games now that they're seemingly all canceled, or are they going to kind of try to go back and try again to break into that genre of game? We will see. Very interesting times here with PlayStation. More canceled games than release games from their first parties, which is crazy to think about. All right. There is a new administration in the United States. Of course, Donald Trump is the president, and he's been threatening tariffs on Canada and Mexico now for a while. But you have to ask yourself, how is that going to affect video games? Is it going to increase prices if these things actually do occur? And now we have some more information here about how it would affect physical games and physical game releases. It says Mexico tariff could lead to fewer physical game releases and increased software prices. So this would definitely have an effect on gamers itself. It's according to Matt Piscatella, the executive director of video games at the market research firm Circana, who was reacting to tariff threats made this week by the new U.S. President Donald Trump. And then after being sworn in office, he's continuously talking about it, saying that he will put 25% duties on imports from Canada and Mexico on February 1st. And he says, with 25% tariffs on imports from Mexico on the way, I can see a sharp downtick in the number of disc-based games that get released physically in the US, as much of the production infrastructure is in Mexico. And then he goes on here to say he expects increased prices for both physical and digital titles, specifically saying, I would, were this to happen, anticipate digital MSRPs to increase to remain at price parity with physical, but who knows? In any case, none of this is good for the physical video game market. And I know a lot of you are saying you don't care because you all purchase your games digitally, but there's still a segment that do purchase games physically. I like my physical games. Seeing those rise in prices would be unfortunate. It would just further kill the physical market to basically just having nobody purchase it anymore, because You're just going to go to where it is cheaper. The other thing, though, you have to look at is even right now, digital games are the same price as physical games. We've talked about this in previous videos. It just doesn't make any sense. But the reason they do it is because we buy them at those prices and they know they can get away with it. And if they're going to start increasing the prices of digital games to be parity with the increased prices of physical games, it's going to be crazy how much these are increasing with. I mean, we look at the economy, you look at inflation, you look at people's wages, it's not keeping up with it. How are people going to continue to afford the video game hobby as prices continuously go up? And that's where something like Game Pass comes in, which gives people the ability to still play games at a relatively low price. And it's always funny when you see people not liking Game Pass or hating on it, hoping it goes away. It's going to be even more important here going forward if this stuff like this does happen. What we will see, as of right now, nothing has occurred. I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but physical games are going away, and if they do increase, it'll probably be the end of them. All right, let's talk a game here. This is an interesting one because I honestly didn't know anything about this game until, of course, it was brought up in the Culture Wars. And I feel like the Culture Wars does that a lot, where there are games that nobody knows about, but because they want to create content about it and do all that stuff, then people actually hear about it. But this is Unknown 9 Awakening. I have no interest in this game, even after watching trailers and gameplay of it to see what it was about. It does not interest me in the slightest. I wouldn't have played it either way, but it was a huge game in the Culture Wars. You saw people saying like it wasn't selling any copies at all, and it just did not do very well. Now they're being hit with layoffs after the game's failure. This is Reflector Entertainment, the developer behind the game Unknown 9 Awakening. It says this is the latest studio to be hit with layoffs. The news comes after its CEO calls the failure of the game. And then in a lengthy statement, he put this on LinkedIn. This is CEO Herv Horde saying the decision correlates directly with the failure of the studio's ambitious and courageous first project, a new IP with a rich transmedia universe. And the performance of the release didn't come near the company expectations after numerous timeline adjustments and investments, both financially and other, and didn't warrant any further exploration in this universe. So who knows what that means? I mean, they are still making a game. They're working on a project based on an existing Bandai Namco IP, but it is going to affect staff overall within the company itself. And again, it's a game that just fell flat. I didn't know much about it. I don't think a lot of people even had a lot of information on it before it was released. The only thing I heard about this game, like I said, was in those videos that people were putting out on social media and stuff about it being involved in the Culture Wars. And it seems like every game is, but that's the only reason I ever actually heard about this game. And finally, one of the biggest successes we've seen, such a great story of how much this game has blown up from basically a single person developing this, and this is Balatro. It has now sold 5 million units, which is just absolutely insane. This game has taken the world by storm. It says here that the developers behind Balatro have announced that the game has sold an impressive 5 million units to date. And to put this into perspective, it has generated roughly 75 million in game sales at the $15 price again. So it's a great story in the sense that it's a solo developer coming out of nowhere making a huge game. I'm Canadian, so from that sense, the developer is from Saskatchewan, Canada, which is a huge, nice thing to see coming out of there. That I don't think you see very much of that stuff coming out of Saskatchewan, but just a great story overall, and I'm sure it will continue to do well. But I'm going to end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.